I want to welcome everyone to the 74th Annual Grand National Roadster Show. Here we are with Ken Thurm from Orange, California. He's in competition for America's most beautiful roadster. So we're here today because we're going to have him tell us a little something about this car. It's a great little 32 highboy. Ken, I'm going to ask you, where'd you start on the body with this?
It's a Brookville.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I want to do is getting the car low.
Yeah.
So I cut the wheel wells out and raise the wheel wells 2 inches.
Now that's on the frame? You Z'd the frame in the back?
On the frame, I cut 22 degrees right out on the front of the front tire, front of the rear tire, and then raise the rear frame rail up 5 inches. Okay. Then raising the wheel wells up 2 inches like that, it winds up with around 4 inches of clearance between the rear end and the bottom of the frame, which eliminates the bottoming out problems.
Sure. And so tell me more about, do you do any modifications to the cowl area or the door area, the front of the body?
Not really, that's all pretty much stock. The front frame rails, I cut those off at the firewall, off the original stampings that I got. Okay. And I build my own front frame rails. And the reason for that is I would put the radius 3 inches higher where the cross member goes. Okay. So that lowers the front of the car 3 inches right there. And then I shorten them 1.5 inches, which I shorten the wheelbase also in the front 1.5 inches, and I move the rear end forward 1.5 inches. So the wheelbase is actually 3 inches shorter. Shorter
than a factory?
Than a factory.
So it's roughly 104?
103.
103 inches?
And then I pinch the rails 4 inches. And the reason for that is I take the axle and I buy a 4-inch dropped axle. I have it re-dropped to 5 inches, which that narrows the track 2 inches. I use spindle mount wheels, so there's no hubs on the front of the car. That brings it in on another inch. So the front track is actually 3 inches narrower than a regular car. And then I want the inside of the tire measurement to the outside of the frame to be relatively similar to a car that didn't do all this to it. So it doesn't look out of proportion.
On the body, first off, it's an amazing, I call it a candy red paint. What do you call it? What is it?
It's a Mazda.
It's a factory color?
Yes.
Okay, what paint did you use to come up with that?
A DuPont. This has a total of 10 coats.
Of color?
7 coats of color and 3 of
clear. Okay. Now, one thing, before we go any further, I noticed there's lots of louvers. Who punched those louvers?
Jimmy Shine.
Jimmy did that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And are there louvers anywhere else, or is it just the hood and the deck lid?
Just the hood and the deck lid.
Okay. And then tell us about the front suspension, about steering and the shocks and what's going on there.
The leaf spring, front end transverse spring, I make those out of stainless because I don't want to use a chrome spring. Not that I've ever had any problems, but I've heard nightmares about that. Yeah. So I got the right number for the material. And then there's an old spring company, great old family-owned business. They bend it for me and get the heights correct, what I want. Yeah. And then I have it heat treated and then polished, so they look really nice and they stay that way. They don't peel or anything.
Yeah. What did you use in the back for shocks? Are they different?
Yes. In the back, I'm using an air suspension.
Okay.
They're actually they're for a 70 Chevelle. Okay. Because I wanted something to ride really nice and make it adjustable. So it's volume over pressure. So the larger the bag, the less pressure I can use, and the softer the ride.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I can't help but stare at these wheels. The polish on them is staggeringly.
That's Mike Curtis. Yeah, I owe it all to him.
Okay, well tell us then about the wheels.
I just went to him and told him the offset and the style that I want, and he made those for me. And
what sizes are they?
Those are 18 by 10.
And the fronts?
The fronts are 5 by 15.
Okay, and what about the rubber that's on them?
These are Toyo, and the fronts are Mickey Thompson's, and the reason I have the 2 different ones, they're both all radials, but the pattern Mickey Thompson's happen to match the tread pattern on the Toyos, which is very good. So it all matches.
What about the headlights and taillights?
The headlights are the King Bees, the old style like that, and then 39s in the back.
And they look like they've been Frenched in the back.
They have. I Frenched the license plate, the light, and the tail lights.
Okay. Let's jump into the interior. Tell me about the dash, the panel, the steering column, the wheel, the gauges. What's going on there?
The dash is a 3-window coupe because I'm My wife needed a place to put her lipstick.
So is that the glove box?
Yes, sir.
And what's that in the glove box? That's your club?
That's our club, California Roadsters.
Yeah.
And that's our emblem.
Yep.
And logo.
Sure.
And then the steering column I made out of is just stainless tubing and machined the head. And then the steering wheel, I bought it at a swap meet, so I'm not sure the manufacturer. The gauges are Stuart Werner wings.
Now you dared to be different. You went with a white interior, which will show dirt if you're not careful.
Yes.
So, but tell us about the seating and the upholstery.
That wasn't my fault.
That wasn't
No.
your fault. Okay.
My wife came out into the garage one night and said, "You're not going to paint this black, are you?" So
that's right, because a lot of your hot rods were always black.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, this one is for you. You know, you can choose the color of the paint and also the interior." So it's really a bone interior.
A bone color? Okay.
Yeah. And the reason we chose that particular one was because we can also match the top, which is being made.
Okay.
So everything will match.
And then I noticed the trunk is also detailed out with aluminum. Let's walk over here to the trunk. Now you've also done aluminum work as well. There's a little bit of carpeting, just a little.
Yes.
But then tell us about the aluminum work in there.
Well, I didn't want carpet everywhere when you open it
Yeah.
up. It just, I don't know, it's too easy.
Yeah.
So, and by having to raise the frame rails up, I also had to move the floor up along with it. So it did short. I lost a little bit of room in there, but then I thought the aluminum would brighten it up when I do open it up if that's nicer, because this is a driver. We're gonna go on vacation in this when this is over. And it's durable.
Okay. Now I'm sitting here, we're looking at the trunk, but I want you to tell me about the quick change that's underneath.
It's a Winter's quick change.
Yep.
With a 538 gear in it.
Okay.
And the transmission is a Richmond 6-speed, so it's an overdrive. So it's fun to drive through the first 4 years, and then we get on the freeway, it'll run down around 1,800, 2,000 RPM.
I notice you have disc brakes on this. What are they?
Yes, those are all Willwoods on all 4 corners.
Okay.
And you got the drilled rotors.
Tell me about the windshield glass and the posts as we walk around.
The windshield is a Dan Fink.
Yep.
And I chopped it 1 more inch. And so it's the actual glass measurement, 6 inches in the middle, which to me was what I was looking for, because I want the top, when it does go on, to be a little more of a rake. Did
you take a dollar bill and put it in the
No.
Okay, that's the 6-inch ruler that everyone uses. Yeah. Okay. Now you eliminated any door handles, that sort of thing, so you just have to reach inside to open. Yep.
Yes.
And I'm looking at what looks to be a rather large motor in there. So tell us about that.
It's a Ford Coyote.
Now, Coyote, there's several generations. Do you know if it's the early generation?
Early. It's an early one.
Okay.
It has the Italian block in it, which I preferred.
Okay.
6-bolt main caps, and it's just a beautiful engine.
Yeah. You have to tell us about that injection that's on there.
That came off of a Gurney Westlake 1965 Indianapolis car.
Okay.
And then I made the intake manifold, and actually Mike Curtis made the runners for me out of billet. So that was pretty nice.
Now, what we see isn't always what we get, because I see what look like fuel delivery lines. Tell me about that.
There's 24 stainless lines. The ones between the throttle bodies now are vacuum lines.
Yeah.
The first set on the outside of the throttle bodies are fuel, and then the next set farthest out are for wiring.
Sure.
So everything's hidden.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank everyone for watching our video here at the Grand National Roadster Show. Ken's car is one of the AMBR contestants, and we wish him the best of luck. But for those of you that are followers of Modern Rodding Magazine, stick around, because you'll also find the final feature on this car in the book, and we'll have this video attached to it.